On Tuesday evening, the Union City Housing Authority appointed a new board attorney, Julio Morejon, who is a North Bergen prosecutor as well as a former West New York town attorney. After at least 45 minutes in executive session, the Housing Authority welcomed the public back in to announce the appointment of Julio Morejon as their next attorney. Morejon was thankful for the new job and gladly addressed those on hand at the meeting.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you for accepting my contract, and thank you for having faith in me. I have a year, to be with you and earn your trust further and do the best job I can. As you know, I'm a resident of Union City, and even played in these projects, as we used to call them growing up. So, hometown boy, and I'll be very proud to serve you and do right. Thank you very much.
He also talked to Hudson County TV afterwards to express his gratitude and why he believes he is qualified for the position.
Professional side, I've been practicing law for 27 years. I've been practicing in the area regarding real estate, landlord tenancy. I have some background in government, having been a prior town attorney. I've been a judge, as you know. So I feel that I have a good mix of private and public sector, and also, with this particular area that they handle, which is housing. I have a housing background, from the private sector. So I felt I was a good candidate, and that's why I gave it, submitted my credentials.
Now, one of the members told me after the meeting that they actually voted for you via a unanimous vote. So how do you feel about that?
Well, obviously, I feel humbled. I feel very happy. As I told them in the meeting, I appreciate their vote, and I want to earn their trust. And I want them, I have 1 year with this board, and I'd like to help them and provide the best legal advice that I can. The former board attorney, Libero Murata, had a lot of questions from Union City Concerned Citizens Group members, though Murata himself actually excused himself after the executive session was over.
Whose idea it was to hire an attorney to impanel a committee to get more attorneys or firms to apply?
I don't recall.
You don't recall.
It was taken as a consensus amongst the board that they felt more comfortable with representation, especially when it has to do with contracts. And making sure they're in compliance with HUD guidelines.
Okay. With all due respect, Mr. Chairman, you really don't need an attorney to have a board. An attorney does legal matter, doesn't deal with day-to-day business operation of this federal office.
Well, the board members, from what I recall, felt more comfortable having legal counsel because they did not have any counsel involved.
That's great. So you give me a great segue to my next question. So you clearly state that it was not your idea to hire counsel to impanel a second round committee, correct?
I think it was a collective decision on the
It was a
board, from what
collective
I
decision.
recall.
So if I go around this room, I need to know, as a taxpayer, who came up with the idea or determination of a law firm should be acquired and an attorney should be acquired to impanel a committee to choose an attorney.
Excuse me. I could speak for myself.
Okay.
As a member of the board. I personally felt more comfortable having an attorney.
Okay.
What legal representation the attorney provided to the board, you'd have to ask the attorney.
Right. But
I
that
recused
wasn't,
on the matter
okay.
after
Right, I
making
saw
sure,
the,
yes,
yes.
after the attorney was put in place.
But that's not my question, Mr.
Right,
Morin.
so
Mr. Chairman, do you abstain from me to asking Mr. Morin a question?
I would like the executive director to answer
Mr.
the questions.
Director,
Because
okay,
myself, I
perfect.
would recuse, and I'm not familiar with.
Okay,
the
so my
selection
question
process.
would be, and the reason why I would ask Mr. Morin is because Mr. Morin was a member on this new second round
As I stated,
committee.
you could direct the questions to the executive director.
Mr. Director, do you know how these committee members were impaneled? How they were chosen and elected?
No, I don't.
You don't know. Okay, Mr. Chairman, can you respond to that question for me? How is this committee, this second round of committee that was called for an attorney, hired or appointed?
I would recused on that matter. I'm not familiar.
Okay, Mr. Morin, how were you chosen to be a committee member on this board, on this committee? My apology. A committee that was impaneled by Mr. Corbin, you, a blind person, and Mr. Jose Alba.
through the chair, Mr. Alonso, what I would suggest you do is, obviously you have questions and concerns which sound legitimate to me. What I would suggest you do is to write to to the executive director, copy our new counsel, and have them respond to your questions in writing. Because we could be here. We could be here.
But as a taxpayer, I have that right to know.
I understand that, but we could be here all night, and it's not fair to these commissioners nor to staff to be blindsided with these questions.
In a bizarre turn of events, city resident Charles Pratt briefly addressed the board to allege harassment from the city police department. Motonetti quickly interjected, though, asking Pratt to keep his comments pertaining to housing authority matters.
In Union City on 40th Street in a housing apartment where I live at. And I have the right as an Afro-American person to speak my opinion too, as living in the city of this town here. I've been discriminated, I've been abused here, I've been discriminated, I've been abused, harassed, and discriminatory by the police department of Union City. I've been almost tempted raped by one of the officers out of the Union City Police Department, which is a lieutenant, and they cover up everything.
Can we keep this to business relevant to the Housing Authority?
I'm John Heinous with Hudson County TV. For more information, log on to HudsonCountyTV.com.